Hello Maroon 5 fans, Bobby Gaines here, and as promised I'm going to give you my verdict on Maroon 5's sixth studio album, Red Pill Blues. As many of you know, I've been a Maroon 5 fan for a very long time. I own all their albums, I know about, their Keras Flower material, etc., etc. And Red Pill Blues, as mentioned in previous rants, was not one that I had on my must-have list, although I obviously wanted to hear it because it is Maroon 5's album. But, like I said in my video where I bought the album, I was going to give it a chance, and give it a chance I did. So I'm going to kind of go over the overall album, things I liked about it, things I didn't like about it, and then I'm going to give it a final score. I'm not going to go in too much depth into each and every track like I did for my last album review of theirs, but I will say that my first listen through of the album was actually a little underwhelming. Let me explain. I've listened to so many Maroon 5 albums, and, usually from beginning to end, there's something in there that, it surprises me, or in a good way. Something that, really kind of gets my attention and makes me want to listen to it again. I can still remember the first time I listened to Hands All Over, and, a couple songs on the album were so good that I stopped and listened to them again. And I usually listen to their albums while I'm driving, so I'll buy the album, and then I'll just drive around as long as it takes to hear the whole album. So I did that again with this album, and it wasn't quite the same. The songs were good. There was never a song that came on where I go, but there were plenty of them that came on where I just wasn't as enthused as I was for past albums. Now, that's just the first listen through. Obviously, impressions change over time. That's why I didn't just jump on YouTube as soon as I heard the album and just come out with a bunch of stuff. So let me start with the first track, just in terms of kind of a wow factor, because usually Maroon 5's first tracks are awesome. If I Never See Your Face Again was a great opener for It Won't Be Soon Before Long. One More Night on Overexposed, another great opening track. Usually their opening track, in fact, always their opening tracks have been just kind of boom. Whether it's a fast song or it's usually a fast song, but it's something that really gives you an idea of the rest of the album, gets you excited for tracks 2 and 3. And that's the way it should be. And not to say that Best For You was a bad song, because it started pretty well. I liked the song, It didn't feel like it had quite the oomph for a first track. I would have almost done What Lovers Do as the first track, but that said, it's not a bad song. I'm going to get into this more when I talk about kind of my cons to the album, my dislikes for the album. Not that this song is a disliked one, but again, I'll get to that. It just felt a little underwhelming, again. And as I went through the album, there were a few songs like that the first time through, I was just kind of Wait. That was another one that I didn't hate it, but it just kind of felt like it was just there. And again, usually, the early part of the album for Maroon 5 is usually where they're at their best. So then you get to Lips on You. And I will say that on my first listen through, not counting the bonus tracks, because I'll get to those, but on the main album itself, I want to say there's 3 songs that I really got into my first time hearing them, to the point where, I kind of had that old feeling of, yeah, this is awesome. And that was Lips on You, the 4th track, Who I Am, and Closure. All 3 of those, for one reason or another, impressed me right off the bat. And, the other songs eventually got there for me, but Lips on You was a really great song. Reminded me of It Was Always You from V, just another really atmospheric type of song, really dark song. And not that the subject matter actually isn't dark at all. It's about making love, as far as I can tell. So it's not a depressing song, but just the way it's done. It was done very well, I have to say. Who I Am was another song that had a more of an up-tempo feel to it. Although none of the songs on this album are terribly fast, but Who I Am was just something snappy about it. That's all I can say. The actual tempo wasn't fast, but just the way the words were sung, the way it kind of moved along, made it feel a little faster than it was. And then you had Closure, which, wow. I'm still kind of going back and forth on how I feel about certain things about Closure. I'll leave it to that. The actual song is amazing. I love the chorus. I love I don't know, there's just something about it. The lyrics are fairly straightforward. And as long as we're talking about lyrics, I do have to give credit where it's due. For the most part, the lyrics on this album are fantastic. They might be the best I've heard from them in a while. I don't think the lyrics will ever be as good as they were on Songs About Jane, but they are pretty good here. Even though some of the songs are formulaic in their design, the lyrics are done pretty well. They get a lot across in each song, particularly Whiskey, which was a song that, again, my first time listening to it, I found kind of underwhelming, and the part of that was because of the A$AP Rocky cameo, which just didn't feel right. But also the rhythm of the song, I don't know, something about it seemed off the first couple times I listened to it. And now I'm kind of used to it. Just the way he delivers the chorus and the way he kind of slows down and speeds up at parts in the song just doesn't feel right. But then I listened to it several more times, and I really do like Whiskey. The lyrics are really like kind of heartfelt, Just yeah, it's just no. It really is a really good song. But again, the A$AP Rocky cameo does kind of hurt it a little bit for me. Otherwise, it kind of reminds me of Sad from Overexposed. And that's kind of where I am with this album, is that there are songs that remind me of other songs, but they're all kind of on the same side of the spectrum, which is usually on the downbeat or mellow side, which isn't a bad thing. Now that I've listened to this album so many times, I realize that this album has a place in my collection. It's an album that, I would listen to if I'm just feeling mellow. Like sometimes I like these high-energy albums, sometimes I like in-the-middle albums. But the beauty of Maroon 5 is that they were usually all of those things. You take an album like It Won't Be Soon Before Long, and yeah, they've got the really catchy songs in the beginning. They got Makes Me Wonder and Wake Up Call, and like kind of the fast dance songs in the beginning of the album. And then as you get through the album, midway through, it starts turning to ballads. And then, kind of picks up a little bit with Kiwi. But my point is, like, all their albums have that, where they have a couple really fast songs, a couple really slow songs, and they usually do a really good job of balancing that out. This album, I don't really feel like does it, other than What Lovers Do. There's not really anything on there that's, like, even remotely up-tempo, and even What Lovers Do is relatively slow for a dance song. And I don't know, it's a curious choice. I wasn't, like, that surprised, because they did advertise this as kind of the R&B album, like the really slow sort of album, and that's okay to a point. I wish they had deviated a little bit from that sound, because it does, again, it's nice to listen to when I'm kind of mellow, just taking a Sunday drive, but it kind of limits that album's versatility, in my opinion, and how much they stuck to that sort of just slow, sort of like 90 beats per minute type of groove for most of the songs, maybe not all of them. Another song, if I have to say, probably my least favorite, just because there has to be a least favorite, Bet My Heart, which isn't a bad song. There's just some curious design choices here, and this is where I'm going to get to my other kind of nitpick on the album, the production. And usually Maroon 5's production is top-notch, and I'm not saying it's that bad here, but in Bet My Heart in particular, there's just some questionable design choices in that it's like kind of this acoustic-sounding song. You can hear the guitars, you can hear, it's more of a soft-spoken song. The theme of it is more kind of just basic, kind of like, if I bet, would I lose if I bet my heart on you? But then there's like this warbling noise, like almost like dubstep, but not quite. Like, and it kind of distorts the guitars, and there's kind of this warbled voice going, if I bet my heart on you. Like, it doesn't go together. Like, if the song was going to be kind of a techno song, I wish I'd have done it from the beginning. It almost reminds me of a song by Alex Clare, the only song anyone knows, called Too Close, from I think it was 2012, had that kind of breakdown. It sounded a little out of place in that song. It sounds really out of place in this song. It's just something about it. And again, the melody is fair. Like, I find myself kind of humming it, Bet My Heart. Would I lose if I bet my heart on you? Like, it's not like a bad melody, but then it's just all these like warbles and just kind of weird effects. But then there are some other songs where I almost feel like they could have benefited from maybe not too many effects, but just a little more. Like, as much as I liked Lips on You, I felt like there were a couple harmonies they left on the table. A couple moments to really make it, like, just kind of, like, ear-catching and haunting. And it does have that, and it's got sort of a power to it. But just on the lyrics themselves, or not the lyrics, the vocals, could have been enhanced a little bit. And it's kind of funny, because some of this stuff was even addressed in, like, the behind-the-scenes footage of Lips on You. They did a harmony that sounded really beautiful that I didn't hear in the final song. And Best For You is one of those that I want to talk about, that I feel like they could have opened up a little bit more on that, too. Like, there's a part of the song where he's going like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, it's like, it's whatever. I feel like they could have kind of kicked it up a little bit there. Maybe added, like, it almost reminded me of a slower version of Michael Jackson's Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, like, where there's, like, just a bunch of instrumentation going on and just moving parts. And I feel like they just kind of settled for going, whoa, 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 like in that middle part of Best For You, where they really could have opened it up, even for just, like, 10, 20 seconds. Would have really made the song a little stronger. Same with Who I Am. Again, a really good song. I felt like they left some harmonies on the table there, too. Just like, if they wanted it to sound more like kind of a doo-wop, sort of like R&B song, they could have really gone for it and had some higher harmonies and some more diverse harmonies on, like, the This Is Who I Am. Like, I don't know, on the actual chorus. And, Lunch Money Lewis's cameo was just kind of whatever. That's kind of my thing with the cameos in this album. They're very hit or miss. I actually really like the Julia Michaels cameo because they use her to good effect. Like, her and Adam actually sing the song together. Too many times I feel like the cameos are just kind of that. Like, they're just kind of, oh, look, it's this guy. And they just, like, throw him into a random verse, and he's there for 30 seconds, and then it's back to Maroon 5. And it was like, what was the point of that? It's like if you're watching a movie of somebody, and they just pan the camera over to somebody else in the corner for a few seconds and pan it back. But with What Lovers Do and Help Me Out, both of the female collaborations, they actually have, SZA and Julia Michaels providing verses in the songs, and they keep the tempo kind of upbeat with Adam and whoever he's singing with trading verses, and it works really well. Both of those songs, actually, Help Me Out and What Lovers Do, have a good amount of energy to them, and I wish there was just a little bit more of that on this album, and I wish they even took it up another notch. And I'm not trying to come off as shallow here and say, they just have to do dance songs or they just have to do funk or whatever. Just one or two, like, little quicker songs, or even just more, I don't know, less warble, like on Bet My Heart. I don't know, just little nitpicks like that. Some other songs that I kind of want to just touch on briefly. Girls Like You, I actually didn't really like it the first time I heard it. It's kind of growing on me now. Again, it just wasn't what I was expecting, and I think that's where I am with a lot of this album, is that, like, there's just some things that I was expecting to be different than what they were, so I'm kind of getting used to that. And it's still a really good album, but I mentioned Closure, and that is probably my favorite song on the album. It's just a really great, I don't know, it's just something about it that really works. And yes, I'm aware it's 11 minutes long, and it has an 8-minute jam session at the end that really could have been like a 3-minute jam session, and it still would have been pretty good. I was listening to Closure the first time I heard it, and I knew it was long because I'd seen the track listing on iTunes, so I knew it was like 11 and a half minutes. How are they going to get that out of this? And the song itself ends. Closure ends with, Adam singing the last chorus, and then it just keeps going with the bass line and then a couple guitar riffs. And I go back and forth on this because I actually really like it. Like, if I have to take a long car ride somewhere, I'll put it on and just let it run and just kind of relax to it. But then other times I listen to it and I'm like, why didn't they do more with it? Like, I'm listening to, like, the guitars kind of just meagerly go back and forth, and I'm like, why didn't they really, like, let it rip like they did on Ragdoll from Songs About Jane? Like, just really put a great guitar solo in there midway through. I mean, they got 8 minutes. I mean, it's not like they have to be Van Halen the whole time, but it would have been nice to see, like, just some variation on it. Although, then again, it's like, the fact that there's not variation kind of makes it more calming. Like, it really is just 8 minutes, or maybe it's about 7 minutes, because they kind of slow it down at the very end. But it's about, it's a long time. It doesn't seem like it, but I was listening to it, I actually burst out laughing when I got to about the 7-minute mark, and I realized, this song's not going to do anything else. Like, this is it. This is all it's going to do. But at the same time, it's my favorite song of the album because it's so unique. It's just like, YOLO, we're just going to play for 11 minutes. And the ending itself is, like, really beautiful and kind of makes me sad that we didn't get more of that on the album. The ending winds down with these really clean guitars and just nice sounds and, like, keyboard playing that reminds me of Maroon 5's old live shows when they were touring for Songs About Jane. It's just really beautiful, and it comes to a nice close. Yeah, closure. It comes to a really nice finish, and it kind of makes me wonder, like, where was this for the whole album? Like, where were these instruments? Where was this, like, musicianship for, the entire album? And again, I mean, I'm not one of these people that's going to nitpick, why aren't they doing the old sound? But that last song, Closure, really kind of showcased what they can do, and I'm glad they did it. I just wish it was on the album more. And then we get to the bonus tracks, which is perhaps the most confusing part of all. Because I'm only counting the 3 bonus tracks that were, like, new songs. I know Don't Want to Know and Cold were on there, too, but we've heard those before. Plastic Rose, Visions, and Denim Jacket were the 3 bonus tracks, so to speak. I consider them part of the album, and actually, I think they're the best songs on the album, realistically. I think they're all really good songs. Even Plastic Rose, I thought. Plastic Rose was a good example of how Maroon 5 could modernize their sound while still being, like, catchy. Like, it's not... I don't think a Plastic Rose is a song that they would have done like 10 years ago, but I like it now. I like it today. It had almost like a Justin Timberlake kind of feel to it. And again, I'm not going to say I loved it, but I really liked it. I thought like a whole album in that style would have worked very well. And then Visions might be my second favorite track on the album, or even my favorite track. I go back and forth on that too. It had a really like reggae type of sound to it. It almost reminded me of the Police Visions, at least the verse did. And again, just kind of showed off Adam's vocal range, and the lyrics are nothing special. It's kind of funny actually. The bonus tracks don't really have great lyrics, although Denim Jacket's pretty good. But the songs I think are better. I don't know. The songs on the bonus tracks, the 3 songs, remind me of stuff from their earlier albums, with a bit of a modern twist that I thought were pulled off much better than most of the tracks on the main album. And that's not to say the tracks on the main album were bad. A lot of those tracks I mentioned that were underwhelming the first time through did grow on me. Wait is actually a lot better than I thought it was the first time I heard it. Girls Like You, Whiskey. A lot of the songs on the album that were just so-so the first time through, I'm kind of letting them grow on me. And if you give the album more than just like 1 or 2 chances, you will get something out of it. That's what I kind of learned. And maybe it's just because I'm such a big Maroon 5 fan, I was willing to listen to it that many times and kind of let it grow on me. Some people might get tired of it, and, that's fair. I don't think, like I said, I don't think this is their best work. If I'm being completely honest, this was my least favorite Maroon 5 album. That doesn't mean it's a bad album. It's just I loved all their other albums so much. And I just feel like this one doesn't really do much to draw in, like, casual fans. Like, it's actually, and it's ironic, because it's supposed to be like the mainstream album. Everyone's like, oh, Maroon 5 is going mainstream. Maroon 5 is just trying to sell out. I don't necessarily know that a lot of this music's going to appeal to people who like Justin Bieber or Bruno Mars or, any of the big artists today. I don't know that this is going to actually draw any of them in. It might. There are some songs that, like A$AP Rocky and like other like hip-hop artists that people know that they might, like those songs because those artists are in them. But for the most part, I don't really see this as an album that's going to be for everyone. But I do think that, if you like kind of like chill R&B, and I do, I'm not only into fast music, that if you like that kind of music, this album does have a place. And, for that, I give them credit. It's not my favorite sound that they've ever had, and I wish that they had stepped out of it even for a couple tracks. It would have been nice, and I would have respected it a little more. I'd say what this album needed was a little more diversity and maybe a little more production on some of the songs that did work to make them even better. I feel like the production wasn't what I'm used to, and it doesn't mean it was bad. It wasn't what I'm used to from them. They usually take every chance and, do everything when it comes to adding those extra flourishes, and it just wasn't there as much this time. I figure it's intentional because they mentioned it was going to be an understated sound, so maybe that was intentional, but I don't know. That's just my opinion on the album. If I had to give this a score, which I will to close out the review, my final score for Red Pill Blues, believe it or not, even with my criticism, is still an 8 out of 10. I say it's a B+ album. Well, maybe a B. A B album that was, pretty good, could have been better. They left some stuff on the table, and they, but again, it's their band, and I generally am okay with the direction they took on this album.